In this tutorial, I'm going to cover the rearview mirror, which is a little bit tricky because it has to be placed correctly because it's going to sort of float over the model. So I'm using a model from my vet pack project because it's still a General Motors mirror. And as you can see, it's not really very detailed because it's small again. So basically, I have to import it, I have to move it into the correct position, and I have to give it its own UV map so that I can use the same texture for the whole interior. So to start with, I made sure that both models were joined and then that the rearview mirror was selected. And because I haven't really linked the vertices on it, it has to be selected bit by bit there. And I have to at least put it in an acceptable position to start with. This is not going to be the correct position. And then I import the Vega body model, the Vega exterior model, so that I have it placed correctly. It takes me a second to find it. There it is, as it exists at the moment. So select the whole thing. I have to actually make an OBJ of it, or a wavefront file, because I didn't have one for the current version of the model. And then I go to the interior model and I import that wavefront or OBJ file. What I like about these is that they're very, very compatible with all kinds of different editors, including Blender. I find they actually work a little bit better than Blender's old file format when it comes to importing. This is why I did it this way. It's bizarre, but it's true. So the mirror is too high, so I have to lower it. And pull it over. Now it's too far in. Now I've got to set it up again. This is probably not a 100% accurate location for it, but it has to be reasonably close. And another thing is that you can see transversely it's not exactly in the correct position, so I have to center it as best I can. It's pretty close, except the mount does not fit 100% right. Here I'm looking around to see if there's anything I'm missing, so I'm being very, very careful. But ultimately it was the mount that turned out to be wrong. It is a little bit weird that you can't see the interior in this particular view, except in wireframe view. But as you'll see later, that's actually just an idiosyncrasy of Blender. It will appear if this is exported. So I take these vertices, I line them up with the windshield. I take a look, and the top of the mount is now sticking out, so I have to move that ever so slightly in. One of the weird things about this is that the windshield is thinner than it would be in real life. It's basically as thin as it can possibly be, whereas in real life they're a few millimeters thick. But now it's placed correctly. So I get rid of that body model. So select it. There you can see the interior. So I select the body model, delete the body model, back to my interior model, and it is placed correctly. So now I have to do the UV map. The textures are displaying correctly on it, but the catch is those are the textures for the Corvette, actually, because the correct texture file is in the correct folder and still the textures still work. over the longer run that won't work. So I have to change the UV map by unwrapping this model, and then from there editing the texture for the interior to include it. So again, the selection process is a little bit tedious, but there it is, selected. Another thing I'm doing is giving it the interior material instead of leaving it independent. That separate material is for the Corvette mirrors, which I don't really want to use. The materials editor in this respect is a little bit confusing because it doesn't have a delete key. It has a minus key. And notice also you have to be in object mode to use it, even though you don't usually assign materials from object mode. But there, the old material is gone, the new one is assigned, and now I have to take care of that UV map. So unwrap, and now it'll look totally wrong. Or maybe not. Let's see, let's find out. Ah yes, the original texture is still being used, so it still looks pretty close to correct. That will not do, however. So I have to load up the texture for the body. And I'm still in the Corvette folder there. All of those Blender files from years ago. So I have to go back through to find the modern day Vega project. The latest version of the texture. There it is. And now I will edit the UV map to be practical. I won't actually go overboard in making it perfect. And once I have it lined up in places where I can easily edit the texture, I'll go to GIMP and do that, although that will be the next tutorial. So to begin with, we only want to select the mirror to start with. So we go to face select mode, select the one face, go back to the UV editor. All those vertices in the face need to be selected. I can just select all because it's the only one that's on the screen right now, and translate the whole thing or move the whole thing. I'm going to put it under the other chrome fixtures there. Scale it down so it doesn't have to be too scientific. And zoom in. I'm using my mouse wheel for that. And then I go back, and now you see the textures are totally wrong. But they won't be for very long. So anyway, I need to select now everything but the face of the mirror. So that's a little bit tedious and irritating, but gotta do it. You can save labor, of course, by going Control L to get all the linked faces, but because these faces are not all linked, that's my problem. So I selected everything but the face of the mirror. And now I have these very bizarre UV maps for that. Basically, I didn't mark seams very well on that when I originally did it, because I wasn't going to go for a very elaborate UV map anyway. And I see no reason to make it more complicated now, because the mirror will be entirely black plastic except for the face of the mirror. So all I need to do is put all of those there, make that black later in the texture, and make the mirror chrome. And that's it. So I will therefore see you in the next tutorial, because I have to add the details to that UV map there.